Cincinnati's ready for the Big 12. It was time for them.
I am fired up.
It's a blessing to be able to be in this league with y'all, putting on for UC.
Cincinnati, a basketball school for...
And there he goes. Touchdown, Bearcats.
Brookwama again. Another slam inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast, part of the Catskeller Social Club. I'm Brandon, he's Darrin, and we are here once again in our weekly installment of the GoBeercats podcast. Darrin, how's it going, brother?
It's going. Living the dream.
Yeah. We before we even hit record, we took it off the rails. So not to leave, too much in the green room, but we decided to hurry up and hit record here. It is another week of talking about the Bearcats' loss. It's another week of talking about what could have been or what should be. All I know is, Darrin, that I'm ready to wave the visor. I don't have a white flag, so I'm waving the visor. I don't know how or who defeated me, but I'm officially defeated, and I'm calling an end to the beer strike. I can't take it anymore. I sit here a defeated and humbled man, and I can call it quits and wave the white flag when I see it need to be done. So I gotta call it. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're about to sit there and force you to making positive life changes and stuff at this point.
No, this team will not be responsible for those types of decisions. Can't be. Can't do it, Darrin. Cannot do it. So let's just jump into it. This is the time for a beer. Hopefully you've seen the new ongoing series on the Catskeller YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. The time for a beer. Coomer has an episode or a clip out, I guess you could say. I do as well, and we're looking to do some beer reviews around the city and beyond, wherever we might be. So look out for more of those. And if you are not yet, why are you not subscribed to the Catskeller Social Club YouTube? Go ahead and do that now while you're tuned in here. While I read this ad, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That'd be a good sort of halfway point here for you. So time for beer. I'm back on the train, back on it, rocking the Rhein from Fretboard here, Oktoberfest. It feels amazing Oktoberfest like weather here today. Where's the camera? There's the camera. There she is. So it is brought to you by the Delhi Liquor Store, our first sponsor of the show. They have you covered not only with a great beer selection with new beer drops almost every day, but everything you need for a great tailgate, from wine, liquor, and cigars, anything in between. And be sure to check out the downstairs tap room options as well. So that's what I'm drinking here, Darrin, because damn it, I need a beer.
Yeah, I mean, I was prepared to ride out with you, so I was just sticking with my water today.
I should have given you a warning.
Back on.
After pretty much like the third series yesterday, on Saturday, I should say, who knows when the listeners are listening to this, but after about the third series against Iowa State, I said, I need a beer, and I need one now. And so we're just not looking back here. There's too much stuff going on in October anyway. Wedding anniversary. My wife's birthday was this past weekend. My birthday is coming up in a couple of days, like about 10 days or so. So there's too much drinking going on. I can't let the football Bearcats hold me back any longer. I just can't do it.
Yeah, you gotta live your life. I'll be joining you at the end of October in the October wedding anniversaries. So
that is right.
Yeah.
Congratulations again, man.
Thank you.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So are you? Is it going to be a local wedding, or is it more of a destination?
Yeah, we're keeping it local. It's going to be at Finley Market.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the columns. So it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to celebrating.
Love it. I know you were kind of taking a time out from tailgating and being in crowds of 30,000 plus for a little bit, just to keep the
the immune system, right?
The immune system. That's it. That's exactly what I was looking for. So you were taking a break, so you were not at the Den tailgate this for homecoming. The homecoming is usually the only game or tailgate that I miss. I always go back to the fraternity house to do those things, and had a good time doing that. But I'm sure we weren't missed that much as the Den has a lot of stuff going on. So I had a good time at the fraternity house, though. I put up a little summary of it on YouTube as well. It was a good time. Saw some people I haven't seen in a long time, like 2011, 2012. So always good to go back and see some familiar faces that you haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, no, my FOMO was real. I got a lot of texts from people. Hey, where are you? Are you here? Because they know at this point I'm like the tailgate guy. I'm at the Den, more often than not. Even had a friend who was there with their fiance, who is from UK. He went to the UK, but he was there celebrating. So we try to make it festive here at home, at least to carry some of the spirit. Cook some special food and wore the gear around the house, but it was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, and we can certainly get into that, Darrin. It was a cold, wet, and overall poor performance after the tailgating scene and on the field in Nippert. Like I said, pretty much right out of the gate, I thought we were in trouble. And cell service is not great in Nippert. I think everyone knows that. And I'm trying to fire off some thoughts, and they're just not going through. And I'm just like, you know what? If I can't get these things off, in real time, it's not worth it. But a couple of those tweets I think we're in trouble. So sitting at home, taking the game in. What's your takeaways? What's some of your thoughts? What do you want to talk about first, I guess?
For a second I thought we were in that game. Not that we were ever really out of it until we were really out of it. But you could just tell they were just flat at a certain point. I feel a little disappointed that they kind of made a liar out of me last week when I spoke to the fight that this team had. Last week, speaking of the fight they had against BYU. All our games at this point, there was always a real heavy chance, but there was just everything just kind of went wrong with this game. The spirit was broken, and they were not willing either. So it just after a certain point, it just looked rough. We were obviously still in it statistically going into half, but there was just so many just messy things happening. It felt worse than that going into the halftime.
I 100% agree with you there. From sitting in the stands, like right at about halftime, or coming out of halftime, it got colder. It started to rain. The student section dipped. Some people were giving them shit about that on social media. I can't blame them at all. I'm not going to say that they were in the wrong for that. The writing, I thought, was kind of on the wall from the performance that we had seen so far. And you're going to ask me to sit there in the rain and endure another half of what I would call just uninspired football. I don't think I'm going to do that. Which sucks because I really wanted to beat Iowa State.
Yeah.
I have a long history of talking about how I am not a fan of their football program or their coach or the corrupt football playoff, thinking that they were better than us when they weren't a couple years ago. So just for those sort of reasons, I wanted to take that the series lead right off the bat from Iowa State, and that is not what happened after a bye week, which I thought we should have been way more prepared for. Mm-hmm. I thought we should have come out and played a little bit more inspired ball. But what I think we saw was all three aspects of the game, offense, defense, special teams, just came out flat. And honestly, as a whole game, it was their worst performance of the year.
Yeah.
From what no matter, I don't like, however you want to look at it. Like we talked about Oklahoma, we talked about I mean, even Miami. We
BYU.
talked. BYU. We could have won all of those games.
Mhm.
We were, take away a mental mistake, a misthrown ball, a blocked field goal.
Mhm.
Just these one or two plays could have made a huge difference. And Saturday, I thought this was the first game where it wasn't that close.
Mhm.
It didn't feel like we were one or two plays away from winning this game. And maybe that was just kind of like, maybe that's just me. I'm happy to hear what your thought process was, but I don't know if it was just the environment, the rain, everything playing into it, that it just kind of felt like, man, this game wasn't nearly as close as it should have been.
Yeah, and I was about to say this is a weird game, not in the sense that we were just this close, or awkward things happen. It's more so that the MO of this team so far has been they've been competitive, but they've shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was before the conversation was how do we get over those humps? That's like stopping this team from taking the next step. This time we just got beat, and it wasn't like every down, every second we were just beat. It was, and we were warned that their offense was very boom or bust.
Mm-hmm.
We got beat on every single boom.
Yes,
the big plays did not get stopped.
They did not get stopped. And as our friend Nick Bauer kind of brought up in the Discord, if we can go ahead and shout him out, we're going to talk about several different things that he brought up. We should have probably just invited him on the podcast. Just that's maybe an oversight by me. I'll take responsibility for that. Should have invited him on here. But the first thing that he pointed out, we can talk about, are those big plays that you just mentioned. Levi from Wide Right, Natty Light last week told us it was a boomer bust offense. And we said that was unfortunate because we tend to give up big plays.
Mm-hmm.
And we certainly did that. We gave up plays. We gave up a 72-yard kick return, a 75-yard pass, a 30-yard pass, and a 31-yard pass, all while not converting any plays of our own for over 20 yards.
Yeah.
That's not the way to do it with a team that kind of lives for the boomer bust on offense.
Not just that, we gave up a trick play too.
The field goal.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, you get a trick play. The penalties, also. You just, when there are chances for us to make big plays against their big plays, it just did not happen on a consistent enough basis. For whatever reason it is, each time, whether it's, no one tracked the guy coming out, kickoff coverage is poor, or you simply get beaten on the actual touchdown. It just, nothing went as it should have. And maybe saying nothing went right is giving too much credit to the luck factor. It's 100% playing. They should have played better. They should have been more inspired coming out of the break. Just as a team, as a unit, as the Cincinnati Bearcats football team, they did not play well at all.
And I think Cincinnati athletics, not just the football team, but I think this could apply to basketball. It 100% applies to basketball, and it can probably translate to some of the other like fringe sports as well. But when you think Cincinnati sports, like what do you think of? Like we talk about like that Clifton grit, right? Like with that toughness, that mentality that maybe on paper you're better than us, but we're going to come out and we're going to give you everything that we have and play our best because we do have that grit. I did not see that Saturday at all. After a bye week, I just had a lot higher expectations. Taking a break, hit reset mode. You and I talked about it last week. Are they going to get back to fundamentals? Or are they going to add some wrinkles into what they're already trying to do? It didn't seem. I would definitely say they didn't add any wrinkles, but it didn't seem like they got any better at what they were trying to do or what they were good at.
No,
and I think you can look at the box score and sort of help. That could help me prove my point here. When you have Corey Kiner rushing 11 times for 29 yards. You have Emory Jones being the leading rusher once again, 15 carries for 72 yards. That's pretty much the only way he can be effective at this point of the season, because we're a one-dimensional team, and when we can't run the ball effectively, we are in serious trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we really count on the run game to get us going. And you see during the broadcast, they said a lot as far as when it comes to Emory, they need they need to get him in motion, and then they also need to give him one read and then go. Early on our first two scoring drives, you saw a little bit of that. They were run a little bit, throw, run. You can tell they at this point they've settled into what they want him to do. Eventually, just the wheels fell off on everything. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to ask, because I agree with you that they've pretty much said, Emory, this is what we need you to do, because good things usually happen when you take off and run, whether it's designed or a broken play or whatever. But when that's the only option that we have to, to gain positive yards or to make a play, what do you like? Is that the direction? I guess that brings us to even a more one-dimensional team when we're not even handing the ball off to run it. Doesn't that just make us an easier team to beat or to game plan for?
I mean, yes, obviously the idea is to make Emory beat you with his arm, but you give him those directions and have him use his natural running ability to open up his pass game is the idea in practice. So that way they respect the run. They have to be ready for it. You can then give him options and time when it's time to throw. But if the guys are, it doesn't matter if Iowa State is getting home and getting through your line and blowing your offensive line up with three guys, and they have a spy on the quarterback still, in case he takes off. I mean,
right.
At a certain point, it's not just scheming; it's getting beat man to man too.
There's a lot of strong opinions out there about moving forward as a football program, I guess. A lot of people we saw Lichtenberg come in towards the end of the game. It was the fourth quarter, right?
Fourth quarter, like 5 minutes to go.
That's what I thought. So are you reading into that at all? Are you trying to look into the crystal ball and predict the future with that happening this Saturday?
I don't think it's completely telling. I wouldn't read too far into it. I mean, there's a possibility there that they are seeing what they have, but only so far as okay, well, Emory's done for the day. We're not going to win this game. If something happens, then something happens. So it's more so seeing what they have in that way, just in case. But I think it's more saving body, because at this point, as weird as it is, I think Emory still gives us our best chance to win when he's on. Obviously, he's not always on. He's not the best quarterback in the world. That's obvious to see. He also beat up Ben Bryant for the job. That's not to say who's the better quarterback at that point, but one was the right fit for this offense and what they want to do, and the other one wasn't.
Yeah,
you can put Brady in, but Brady is a pocket passing quarterback. Our offense up until this point has been built around dual threats, or at least primary run force.
It's the only thing we can do.
Yeah, but that's also a Satterfield offense. That's how he plays his offenses. That's how he was at Louisville. That's how he's trying to build it here. So I mean, you can put Brady in. You can start him. If it really comes down to it, they'll make a change. But at this point, it's kind of up in the air if it really matters.
Yeah. I think there's still, well, we're halfway through the season right now. So we've officially hit that halfway mark. There's still games to be won.
Yes.
Right. We have not a tough October schedule ahead of us. It could be argued that Kansas is our toughest game left on the schedule. Maybe you want to say West Virginia, although I think they're starting to, I'm not going to call them fraudulent yet, but things might be trending that way. So I feel as though if you throw in Lichtenberg or if you throw in House Bearcat, Brady Drogosh, if you throw in either one of them, you're admitting that the season is over, basically, just to get them reps and time as some experience under their belt. I would see that much. I could see that like the last 2 or 3 games of the season, if things are still going very poorly for us. Which I'm not saying that they won't. Things are showing that even in the next 3 weeks here against a less than stellar competition lineup, we will probably still struggle. Not that we can't pull out a few wins, but I think if you put those guys in now, either one of those guys, you're admitting like, hey, we're just going out here to get these guys some reps and snaps, and that's all that we're looking to do. I don't know if we're ready to do that yet.
Well, you're for one thing, we're not going to put Brady D out there at all this year. You're not going to burn that red shirt.
Yeah.
You may see
Well, you're allowed to 4 games though, right? You're allowed to. He's only been in 1, right?
I mean, yeah, he's only had a little bit of time, but at a certain point, do you also want to get him banged up behind an offensive front that has been less than stellar?
That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, you're also, again, if you put Lichtenberg in, you're being asked to switch the style of your offense. Now, granted, that may somehow just work out. Maybe these guys would be better in that protection and switching it up that way. But again, you've been building your offense and teaching these guys. You're supposed to be a run first, dual threat quarterback behind the wheel, and that's how your offense is going to play. And you're supposed to stretch the defense with your runs. I don't know if these guys can do it at this point. Like, as far even for Brady L, who doesn't have you have to worry about bringing a red shirt at this point because he's your direct backup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility. I just don't know how feasible it's going to be with the changes and the difference in style for him as a quarterback.
I think, you're right. It's a very stark difference between the skill sets. Either one, two, or the third option. They're a little bit different of a skill set. And you bring up a good point about the line. There's not a whole lot of things that this offensive line, I should say, has done that would give me confidence in protecting the quarterbacks or the quarterback of the future. I don't know if I'm putting my trust in them right now at all.
Yeah, I mean, that actually kind of brings me to the segue. That line is held together with duct tape and WD-40. It was a patchwork offense to begin the season because let's not forget, Fick took 2 of our starting offensive linemen. Well, I guess technically one wouldn't be starting because he was out all season and didn't play center, but who definitely would have been on the line this year if he had stayed, and took 2 of those guys with him to Wisconsin. So you had a bunch of guys who were left over who had limited snaps, and then the starting center left over. You're asking a lot there, and that's not to make excuses. That's just the fact the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is again to sort of circle back here? What's sort of alarming for me is it doesn't seem it seems like we're not getting better, to put it lightly or mildly. More harsh view might be like we're getting worse as the weeks go by. we're talking about, giving up a 72-yard kick return. Our special teams has, slid backwards. Our defense, I still think our D line is a bright spot on the team. I think teams are learning sort of how to combat that a little bit more now. Especially with some evidence on Saturday. It doesn't seem like we're getting to the quarterback as much. I haven't given a deep dive into tackles for losses or anything, but it just doesn't seem like they're quite as effective because teams know that they can throw on us. It doesn't take a whole lot to make that happen, honestly. And a tweet that I saw, I don't know if you saw this, Darrin, about Sammy Anderson saying that he's been healthy since week 1, and the medical staff has kept him out. So I can always see that there's some pushback. Like, oh, I feel good. I can go out there, and the medical staff being like, oh, you're not. I'm sure you feel good, but you're not completely healed yet. You got to wait for this and this. Like, I can see that that relationship being testy at times. But that's sort of another little wrinkle inside of all of this, because I think he would definitely help our secondary, because it doesn't take much for us to get worse. I don't even know if that's possible.
Well, I mean, there's a caveat to that. It's actually kind of the same thing with when I said throwing Brady Drogish out there. With the season in the state that it's in at this point, is it worth it to go out there and rush yourself back out there? And statistically, obviously, we're not eliminated from going to get a bowl game at this point. Now, the way things are trending, it doesn't look very likely, but we are not out of that stretch. But would you really want to rush him back? For example, Sauce this weekend also tweeted about being on concussion protocol and saying, "Oh, I feel fine." I mean, now the difference between Sammy Anderson and Sauce is, Sauce is a multi-million-dollar, asset for that team. But the same can be said. You still have value as a person. Don't throw that away when you don't need to.
Yeah.
What?
We have the Baylor Bears coming in next week.
Yes.
The Baylor Bears are 2-4. They have been one of the bigger disappointments, I think, probably from the Big 12 so far. I know Long Island gave them a game. It ended up 30-7, but it seemed like it was a lot closer than that. Through 3 quarters, they have not necessarily lived up to expectations, which a handful of teams in the Big 12 have not. I'll throw Texas Tech under the bus there. They have. Although they beat Baylor, they have not lived up to many people's projections. We have them coming in a must-win game for morale. I think people are sort of ready to jump ship, or they're at least talking like that they are. This should not be a 30-10 loss by any measures here, but will the Bearcats be ready? Will they come ready to play? Can they get back to playing good football, or good as a better than what Saturday was, is what I meant by good football. Not that we've seen good football from them necessarily since week 1, but what's your take on Baylor and what they have to offer coming in this week?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's unfortunate. It's not for us to say will they be ready or not. That's going to be, unfortunately, that's going to be up to the coaching staff and the players themselves.
True.
And we've talked about how to look in the mirror. That should have been the soul searching. Should have been what happened after the BYU game, or maybe after the Miami game, or maybe during the bye week. But again, you're at another crossroads here. With how do you want to finish your season? Seniors, how do you want to go out? Do you people who who realize maybe they're not going to the NFL next year? Like, do you want to savor those last moments of playing the sport you love? do you want to coach for your job? It's not really not as far as Satterfield goes. He's not going anywhere. He's not getting fired anytime soon. Maybe some assistants might get the axe. Obviously, you still got to pay them because they're, everyone's under contract, but that's a lot easier to get rid of than a head coach. So, on paper, yes, we should win this game. Will we? Who knows? College football is weird, man. We just had a weekend where 4 different games came down to the wire, and when you thought it was over, it wasn't over. So the possibility for anything is there. Baylor themselves, same record, 2-4. The hope for them was that they would be a much improved team because they showed a lot of fight last year. Even playing spoiler to teams like OU. But looking at their stats, I mean, your leading passer in Blake Chapin, 920 yards. Rushing isn't anything to be desired really either. Best back is at 229, 282, and then split 228. So a very even split between their top running backs there. But again, not an amazing show of stats on that.
I think Baylor, kind of like BYU, plays into our strengths when it comes to defense. Baylor is not good at stopping the run by any measures. They give up 184 yards a game on the ground. Again, when we both stayed up to watch the BYU game till 2 a.m, what I saw was the team that ran the ball 47 times, the Bearcats, gashing the defense, and then at times when it seemed like it was an easy choice to run the ball, we didn't run the ball. I thought we should have ran it 70 times, 80 times. Just like make them stop you. When you're gaining 6 to 8 yards a play, there's nothing wrong with moving down the field like that. I think that's going to be the same situation against Baylor. At least that's what it looks like right now, where we can just feed Kiner, feed Miles Montgomery, let Emory Jones take off, and just doing that alone, we should be able to make some noise on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, that room's gotta want it. They gotta want it. Obviously, we reflect back on the words of Satterfield, harsh though they may be, factual they actually are. These guys aren't home run hitters. At least they haven't proven that they can be home run hitters and taking the distance. Connor was running a little hard to start the game the other day, so I felt a little optimistic about that when it started out. But eventually, obviously, the game went nowhere. But it's there. It's inside those guys. They gotta want it. They gotta hit those holes. If you hit contact, make sure you drag the guy with you. The opportunity is there. And like I said last week, every game is going to be a get right game until we get right. But I agree with you on the rushing attack. I think we need to stick with what we're good at. Obviously, if they watch film, they're going to try to take that away. Yeah. I think the counter needs to be to change up the actual running concepts if they, take away what we want to start out with. They want to take away the inside, find a way to go outside, find a way to go short game swings, low or high percentage passes starting behind the line of scrimmage, whatever it may be. Obviously, the game hasn't been played yet, so we'll see how that shakes out. But again, a good opportunity for us there. And then you can start airing it out. Yes.
The Bearcats are a 1-point favorite on Saturday, which is, again, kind of unique, but that's kind of I don't know if that's more of a testament to how bad Baylor has been so far, or somebody somewhere in Vegas still believing in the home field advantage at his Nippert or some combination of the two. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see us be able to run the ball down their throats until they have to, stack the box with all 11 guys or something crazy. And then we can make them pay through the air, which is, something that we've not necessarily seen so far this year, but I think we're more than capable of. Darrin, I want to circle back to something here that you just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people calling for the coach's head, a lot of people calling for Emory Jones's head. I don't know where they think we're going to get $30 million or whatever it is that we would owe Satterfield. I also don't know where their patience is really.
Mm-hmm.
What I did do earlier today is I went back and I did an advanced Google search on people's thoughts and feelings on Fickell through his first year here, and I'm not going to call anyone out. But I did look up the receipts, and that they are out there. Many people were not a fan of Mr. Luke Fickell after his first 6 or 7 games, and we can talk about that a little bit more. And thanks again to our friend Nick Bauer, who has brought some things to light for us. But I thought that was, and he gave me that idea, so I went back and I looked at Twitter, and people acted the same way then as they are doing right now. Maybe the Cincinnati football Bearcat program isn't as turnkey as we thought it is, or thought it should be, or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's I'm not calling for Satterfield's head yet. I think it's still way too early in the process of everything. I would love to be winning these games, but precedent is not necessarily there for that to happen. I'm not saying that he's not to blame for anything. I think you have to inspire a team to come out and play better and be more prepared after a bye week, 100%. Our friends over at Cincy Slangin brought this idea up a couple weeks ago about our offensive coordinator. And listeners and Darrin, everyone here can take 2 or 3 seconds and think of the name of our offensive coordinator. It's not Tom Manning. He never got here. He got held up in Indianapolis. But after a quick Google search by myself here a second ago, when you reminded me of this, our offensive coordinator, his name is Brad Glenn. Almost as forgettable as he is in terms of his role on this team. I think we know Satterfield calls the plays. He's supposed to be this sort of offensive-minded guy. I don't know if we've seen that this season yet or not, but maybe one of his biggest mistakes so far is hiring someone that will not, or at least has not yet, challenged him at all. Maybe you gotta. I think it's probably easy to have a room full of yes men. I'm not saying that they are all that, but I think from what I've seen here, you don't necessarily have an offensive coordinator that says, hey, let me take the reins on this. You be more the CEO that he is when it comes to recruiting, right? He's had put in a new position in place to sort of head the recruiting side of things, but he has a much more hands-on attempt, or a much more hands-on approach when it comes to being on the field calling plays. I think that might be his short-sightedness to not have a guy there that can say, this is what we're doing, this isn't working, let's do this. What do we think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see that a lot, especially when coaches have a preference for their side of the ball. I'm not out on it yet completely. Give it time. But yeah, I mean, just look at receipts for people back in the day too. How people feel in the moment is always always fun to look at, especially after your head's been cleared and time has passed. So I've listened to receipts for a lot of eras of Bearcat football at this point. I mean, even looking back at Tuberville when he got here, You know,
Well, I was at that intro press conference. I was hyped.
everyone was hyped. Other people, when Luke Fickell got here, you know, well, he was 800 or 500 at OSU. You know, led them to an 8-win season. That's not their ceiling. You know, I mean, we got a conference championship the first 2 seasons of Tommy Tuberville. I mean, you remember how it ended versus how it began on that.
Yeah.
I mean, and credit to Nick Bauer again on some, you know, throwing stuff out there. You know what the Luke Fickell when he started was 1 win versus the FCS by 8 points, 4-point win over Miami, getting destroyed by Navy. You know,
Giving up 500 yards to Navy.
500 yards. You know, down 31-0 at in Nippert Night against Marshall. You know, won a mercy killing against UCF, and then getting run over through by South Florida, of all people, South Florida. Just not a great time. And then you look at how, again, start out amazing with Tommy Tuberville, especially in a transition year.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, he's here to get us to the Big 12. Remember those lines? And a revamped Big East 2.0 American Athletic Conference at that point. And we were, competitive those first few years, but at that point, more of a just average team at a certain point, and then just getting run through. And it's just, I don't like what I'm seeing with our team so far. It's not fun to lose. And it's not fun to have a homecoming game like that where there's just no spirit. Mm-hmm. But also in good consciousness, I cannot give up on any coach after their first season. Yeah.
No, I think you're reasonable and maybe a little bit more level-headed than some people out there. And I tend to agree with you. Mm-hmm. Those things that Bauer pointed out in the Discord that you just mentioned are all things to consider and take in as we walk this journey into the Big 12 year one. And I think it was a completely different vibe, because we were so excited to get rid of Tommy Tuberville. We would have hired anyone off the street, literally anyone. And we would have been like, at least he isn't Tommy Tuberville. And we'd have been thrilled. Some people didn't like the Fickell hire. I wasn't sold on it immediately either, with Mr. Ohio State coming down the highway here and taking over. And I think he did a lot of sort of cringy things in the program to start things off until he got a better feel, for what was happening here. Because I don't think he knew a whole lot about the program, and listening to those first press conferences or anything, would be like, yeah, this guy's got a little bit to learn about Cincinnati here. But we were just so excited to get rid of Tuberville. And I kind of brought this up a couple episodes ago, and I was like, I'm not going to make this comparison yet, but I think it's time. I don't think he is Tommy Tuberville. That's the bad taste left in everyone's mouth. That's what everyone remembers. I think when it's said and done, I think Satterfield will be much closer to Butch Jones and what he was here than Tommy Tuberville. There are people out there that believe Butch Jones was a good coach here. I damn sure am not one of those people.
Hold the rope.
I thought he was mediocre at his very best. And I thought he had some success thanks to the coattails of Brian Kelly. And I don't think we never won a Big East championship outright. I know that one year there was like a 3-way tie with UConn. Nothing that he ever did really impressed me as the coach here. And I feel as though Satterfield is trending much more towards a Butch Jones, serviceable, but not out to lunch like Tuberville was. Well, still much more football to be played under his reign here, but to me right now, it's a little bit more of that than Tuberville. Just, hey, you guys got this, right? I'm gonna go hit the course, have a beer, finish the sandwich, and maybe I'll be back.
Yeah. I think people see a CEO head coach, and at least from the camp of being a Cincinnati fan, and they automatically think Tuberville because that's their recent negative, their most recent negative experience with that. The real fact of the matter is we don't know yet. We do not know. We don't know what's going to look like when it's all said and done. He is not Thick. Thick is not him. He is not Tuberville. Tuberville is not him. He is Scott Satterfield at the end of the day. And every coach is different. He may be a disciple of a certain coach, like Butch Jones was a disciple of Brian Kelly. Took after him a little bit, followed his footsteps kind of there for coaching school to school. But again, different coaches at the end of the day. Every coach is different. And if Scott Satterfield turns out to be the wrong hire, oh well. What are we going to do at this point? Especially year one. It's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that we have standards of where we want to be. But again, when we talk about this, expectations about where we're at and realizations about where we're at. And this is not to make an excuse for Scott Satterfield. Again, the play and effort on Saturday was not where it should be, even for him as a coach. And that has to reflect badly on him as well. But there are still factors working against him. And I would like to see where we're at when everything is working as it intended for him. Yeah.
And like you said, this week's a get right game because they all are until you get right. And Baylor, I will be anxious to see how we respond after coming out, having an overall, like I've said, or I believe to be an overall poor performance. How do we fix that and come out and play a little bit more inspired ball against the Baylor Bears? Hopefully, we can parlay that into an Oklahoma State team on the road, which will be a little bit tough, but they've certainly not, again, another team that's maybe not lived up to expectations, have a lot of people I've seen questioning Gundy and where he stands in the program. And then you have our good friends down south in Florida coming to Nippert. And you have Houston, who somehow found a way to win the first Big 12 game out of the three American teams. How they did that, which was literally a miracle, is how they did that. I was going to say how they did that. I don't know, but I do know it was literally a Hail Mary miracle that won them their first game. So the plenty of opportunities here to fix what's been ailing us.
Yeah, again, the chances are there. It's a team that we match up well against. We're both not having a great season. Would I love to see this team rattle off 4 straight wins? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's at this point, it's about improvement and stabilization and
yes,
and finding positive notes in the season. That's not apathy at this point. This is just where we're at. We are not above 500 right now. We are likely not get a bowl game. So at this point, what we have to look forward to, or our hope or want at this point, is what we're allowed to want, and that's just for them to win and get better and see improvement and see the systems start to work and see them figure things out. Again, I'm reserving my full judgment at least until the end of year 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a sort of a unrelated note, this week is a big week for the 3 previous American teams. You have the Bearcats facing off with Baylor, which before the season you might have said that was pretty exciting game to look forward to. You have Central Florida against Oklahoma, and you have Houston versus Texas. So definitely some big games there for 3 out of the 4 newcomers. I think BYU's off this coming week, but at least for the teams that were previously affiliated with the American Athletic Conference, we definitely have a nice slate of games for those 3 teams.
Yeah, you want to kind of see your teams slay their connected demons at this point.
Yeah.
For us, West Virginia, I think, would be our old misconnection.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia was also that for Houston with the coaching connection there.
Yeah.
For UCF, it's going to be Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, you're right.
So everybody here has a little bit of baggage that's playing in the conference currently. I think that my assumption is Dylan Gabriel is going to just eviscerate them and want to eviscerate them. But for us, Baylor, against Baylor, it's hoping that the matchup that we think we have is actually there. I was watching the College Game Day, and they shifted the bet towards ISU. I was like, oh, we're gonna show them. We got this. Yeah. We're gonna. No, they were right. They knew what was happening. They saw something that we didn't. So, yeah, it's hard to go with Vegas on anything at this point when it comes to this team. But on paper, we match up well. We just won't know. They need to have a good week of practice. They need to, hopefully Stat hasn't lost the locker room just because losing just does not help that, especially as a new coach, because you have holdovers, you have guys who stayed. Some people are just resistant to change, and culture changes. So hopefully some of those guys who are looking for reasons aren't like, oh, see, I told you, and they stop playing the way they should.
Yeah, because I think we still got plenty, a handful of guys that are NFL talents or have NFL expectations. So that's got to at least keep you a little bit more motivated than, hey, I got to find something to do after this.
Yeah.
So underclassmen, upperclassmen, I think we got guys that are trying to make it to the next level. So I think I would hope that would, help them stay motivated and then help them also motivate others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's hard to say who the leader is on this team that can pump a fire, into those guys. Again, it's a new coaching regime. Half your teammates are new guys too with the portal, the way that works now. And as outsiders, we can only kind of get inklings, even from coaching interviews and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, every once in a while you get like a player tweet or something like that. Usually gets deleted after the fact. Yeah. But you hope that at some point they can take a nice long look in the mirror, and decide they want to expend the effort. Because it looked like when things started to go wrong, even the small inklings, we would here we go again. And it was in the body language. It was in the air, even all the way up here away from the stadium. It was, social media. It wasn't even, you could call that apathy maybe, but like, you just don't like to see that. And again, that's on the coach to fix in a way because it is his program. But it's also not grounds to, fire the coach and get rid of him at this point because we can't. And it's, again, year one. So, yeah, you can be right about this. You can be right that he wasn't the right hire. But do you want to be right about that is the other question.
No. No, you do not.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a team who I didn't really know was active right now in October.
Yes.
And maybe you can give me some insight here. But the baseball Bearcats, we're gonna talk about them for a second before we talk about the basketball Bearcats. A little bit of fall ball action here on Sunday as the Bengals won today. Let's throw that out. The Bengals They beat the Seahawks. I'll take that. But baseball fans who did not get their fix with the Reds not making the playoffs and sort of falling off of a ledge could take their attention down to Clifton, and where the Bearcats dominated Xavier this week, 19-1. We're gonna. I've said this before, but I think with your help, we can actually cover the baseball Bearcats a little bit more as their season really comes to stride in the spring. But a little, you got the hot bats here in the fall ball action, hitting.
Yeah.
I don't know how many they hit today, but scoring 19 runs is not easy.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's also great to see that against the boys from Norwood. I mean, some guys were just hot today. Alec Jones, Karen Cross. I think Hunter Jesse had a pretty good home run out there. It's interesting and I'll have to go back and watch the tape because the score update was literally just an hour ago. So I haven't got a chance to look at it too much. But it looks like everybody was getting themselves a piece. It looks like the new era is off to a hot start. Obviously, it was one game, but I like to see that.
Looking through the Bearcats baseball Twitter, I just realized I wasn't following the new coach. Is it Beischel? Is that how you say the last name?
I think that is technically how you pronounce it. I could be
wrong. We'll call it that. Jordan Beischel. Looks like he's pretty involved around campus. He was at the game with Josh Harrison, former Bearcat baseball player, who's
making connections.
Yes, good connections to have there. And I don't know the other guy. Oh, he plays for Oakland, Ryan Noda. So I just followed him on Twitter. I thought I did already, but definitely looking forward to learning more about the baseball team and following them a little bit more closely here because I think with a new conference, new coach, what could go wrong?
Yeah, right. Okay. I mean, well, he's gonna have a little bit more time to prepare.
That's true.
Getting into
That's true.
The bulk of the season. Not short notice. 6 months. Oh, by the way, I just got hired and recruiting season almost done. Let me see what I can get. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see it. I liked his energy. He did great things. At a stop before that. It's our turn now as a Power 5 school to start plucking guys away from G5 schools. So I'm looking forward to it. The energy is really good around the program. It's nice to have alumni come back. Obviously, yesterday was homecoming, so you never know who you're going to see. So Harrison gets to stay in the fancy suites away from all that. But still, making connections with alumni like that is great for showing the players that are already here and the boosters that you care about the culture of the team. Clearly, it seems to be working so far. Again, you're beating the boys up from Norwood, 19-1. It's it's going to be a good sign at that point. I intend to keep track of these guys throughout the season and throughout the off season. I have season tickets to the Bearcats baseball. It would be smart to get in on that deal, just because it's affordable. The Reds are a little suspect as a franchise right now, and who wouldn't want to support student athletes and coming out to see them play the sports that they love. But yeah, again, I think we're heading in a good direction. That's a good sign on the scrimmage. The weather was great enough for it. Keeps them loose. Just old-fashioned fun. I'm excited.
What I am getting more and more excited for, Darrin, is college basketball to be back. To be honest, I don't watch a ton of college football outside of the Bearcats. I watch some, but I don't make it a priority to watch a ton of basketball or football. But basketball, on the other hand, I'm a hoops junkie from any and every level. And Jeff Goodman today, a basketball analysis, I don't know where he's working these days, but he tweeted out about a super secret scrimmage between the Bearcats and Maryland. Maryland is supposed to be, they're supposed to be a very good team this year. Already preseason top 25 team. I think they're projected in the third or fourth in the Big Ten. So supposed to be, a solid team. Remember the Big Ten is kind of stacked again this year with that giant that Purdue has, even though they lost the 16 seed in the tournament last year. But the Big 12 definitely, or the Big 10, I'm sorry, the Big 10 will definitely hold their own. But the Bearcats reportedly lost 74-70 against Maryland on Sunday in a super secret scrimmage where neither Aziz Bandango or Jamil Reynolds played.
Allegedly.
I think I've seen enough on Twitter. I'm going to go with that. There's been enough people say that they're not even allowed to participate in scrimmages. So I'm going to go ahead and say and report. I'm going to go ahead and talk to that as if it were true. So 74-70, Seamus Lukosius 14 points led the Bearcats. Dan Skillings with 12. 74-70 without the guys on waiver. I think that's a very promising preseason scrimmage, if you will, for what the Cats can be capable of this season.
Yeah, no, it's a great sign, especially with the way basketball season starts. You're desperate for any crumbs that you can suck off the floor there, and seeing them hold it close to what would be a powerhouse, at least as it stands over the past few years, is a good sign. You'd hope to see that in this point for Coach West. So it's promising, especially when you don't have your full alleged roster or starters, or what you assume would be your day one starters.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with the the little hype videos, the little highlights from practice that the media team's putting out, definitely has Bearcats Twitter and the Catskeller Discord has a buzz about the possibilities of this season. We are going to talk more about that, Darrin, next week. Hopefully after a Bearcats football win against Baylor. Hopefully. But we have friend of the show and former Final Four participant, the legend himself, Terry Nelson, coming back to the podcast to give us a full breakdown, full preview, season preview for the Bearcats basketball team. I'm excited to have him back on. He kind of volunteered on it too. I didn't have to reach out. I randomly saw him at the Oklahoma football game. There was a ton of basketball alumni there. And, he was talking to me. He's like, when are you going to have me back on the pod? I'm like, as soon as you want to come back on, man. He's like, yeah, we'll do a season preview. I'm like, done. And, so anytime we can talk to T-Nell about basketball, I know he has his finger on the pulse of what's happening. So next week we'll have a full breakdown with him. I'm super excited for that.
I'm looking forward to it. My body is ready.
Absolutely. Darrin, I think that's all I have for now. I'm glad we decided to do this today. I felt it a little therapeutic. I texted you and I was like, hey, you want to do this on Monday? And you're like, sure, but we might as well just get it out. And I'm glad we did. I can sleep better tonight now that this is out of the way.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, we will be back next week. Hopefully after a Bearcats win, we will see. And I don't know. It is what it is, man. We'll get there. I'm out of beer. I'm probably going to have another one because this team makes me want to drink. So in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, cheers and go Bearcats.
Bearcats.